Good morning. I'm Kathy Ryder, Board Liaison for Membership Services this year. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are a religious community who commit ourselves to diversity. We hope to nourish human differences, those of gender, race, age, ability, sexual orientation, political views, culture, class, and religious belief. Welcome to all who treasure freedom of conscience in the search for truth. We promise to do our best to provide you with a spiritual home. We extend a special welcome to our visitors today. We hope you will follow our UUC Facebook page.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Julianne Love. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. Our opening words are from Kalidasa. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. And this morning we light our chalice with these words. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift.
Good morning. I'm Dawn Brisky, and the chair of this year's Harvest Auction Committee. Do you have a beautiful garden or a property with a wonderful view? Would you be interested in allowing other members of our UU community to enjoy the beauty of your property in a socially distanced manner? If so, please reach out to the UU office or to me. We are hoping to create a garden walk in the next month or so as a benefit under the Harvest Auction umbrella. Is there something else you're interested in leading in a safe, socially distanced, or virtual manner? Please let us know. You can find upcoming Harvest Auction events and a donation form on the all-new Harvest Auction website. Visit our website at uueauclair.com, click on Contribute, and then click on the Harvest Auction link. Thank you for your interest and your support.
Hi, this is Dani Claesges. I coordinate the homeless program for the Eau Claire Area School District. I've included my email address in case you want to go back, and you're welcome to have this PowerPoint to reference back to. And anyone is welcome to contact me at any time to ask questions or find out more information because I am happy to share that. If you want to pass along to a family or somebody you know, or if you want to share with other community members who may gain a lot from being aware of our program and what we do. Today I wanted to give you some information about how kids typically become homeless in our area, what homelessness does look like in the Chippewa Valley, the numbers that we see in our homeless program, the identification of students, how we hear about them, what we do in our program once we hear about them, and the ECASD closet, the Adopt a Backpack program, and then I just wanted to share some ways you could help if you're interested. So first I want to just throw out a scenario and help you to kind of think about, tap into those feelings you'd have. Where would you be? What would you have if you're in this scenario? You are finding that you are with a partner who has become abusive. and you do not have an option to stay with them and be in a healthy relationship. So you need to leave, but you probably don't have much income. You have 2 kids who are a middle schooler and an elementary student. You have a vehicle. You are lucky to have a vehicle to be able to get yourself around. But again, do not have any money saved up and kind of need to leave on the fly. You cannot afford a storage unit. So thinking about that scenario, think about your house, what's in it, and what you would find most essential to take with you, and how much of that could you pack into your vehicle. So thinking about that a second, what would you do? Where would you turn to? Do you know resources in the area? Do you have a friend or a family member that it would allow you to stay at their house? If you did stay with that person, how long are you able to stay with them? Do you know that right now? Do you know if that person would open their doors and let you stay for as long as possible? If you were staying there, would you be able to dictate how they live their life in their house or in their place? Or would you be subject to their habits and their rules? Would your kids be subject to their habits and their rules? An example would be if they stayed awake until 11 at night in the living room watching TV, and that's where your kids were sleeping, were on the couch or on the floor. Do you feel comfortable after them letting you stay, asking them, please don't watch TV until 11 o'clock so my kids can go to sleep? Or is that something that you really would be subject to and couldn't change? And how would that affect the amount of sleep that your kids get? How would you feel about being at that house day in, day out? Do you feel that you would have the run of the place and be able to put your stuff in the refrigerator, take up space in the cupboards, take up space in that place? And maybe not. Maybe you have a little bit of money to go to a hotel, or usually a motel. Which motel in town is the least expensive? And even with it being least expensive, we'll say maybe $43 a night. What motel is that? And who else stays there? Is that one of the nicest motels in town where you feel safe? Or is that another motel in town that maybe you don't feel so safe? And $43 is a lot of money a night. You're gonna go through it quickly. So how long is that gonna last? And where are you gonna go afterwards? Now who's gonna let you stay with them? And how much money do you even have left at that point? Can you afford groceries anymore? Can you afford gas in your car? So on top of all this, when parents are thinking about what would they do, a lot of times the education piece is not at the top of the list, not the most dire thing to survive, but B, an also very difficult situation. So you really have to weigh what is most important, and that is where we come in. I mean, where the homeless program comes in is that we know that they have so many more important things on their plate at that moment, really a mountain on their shoulders. And we want to make sure that the student's education is not something that has to be worried about by the parent or the child, because the parents definitely worry. Although you may not do this now, I would love for you to go back and take a moment to go on placebent.org. It is a website that you can go on your mobile device or a computer, and it brings you through a scenario of a person. You are the person, and you're going for a month-long time trying to survive with a set amount of income. Usually you're making somewhat around minimum wage, and things come up in the scenario that are, I would say, typical, but also thought-provoking, where they give you a better understanding of when families are faced with not enough income, that they really try to make the best choices that they have in front of them, but they still don't come out ahead. And one example of that is in the game, you may find it brings up asking you a question of what to do. You have a toothache. Do you spend $400 and you have a budget on the left side, shows how much money you have. Do you spend $400 or do you just ignore the pain in your tooth? And of course, at the time, you're going to look at your budget and say, well, I'm going to ignore that for the good of my family. You know, it's just my tooth. It's not a big deal. But then later, they have to get an emergency root canal for $800. And now, from trying to make the best decision for their family, it's actually made it a tougher situation for them. And that's just one example. And I really enjoy this because many people who just don't live that life and live with a very limited budget truly understand what that looks like. And I think they did a good job of creating this game to somewhat simulate it as best they could. And I encourage you, people enjoy this activity, not only from what they learn, but they kind of see that you get to the end of the month and you may have, you know, an amount, a balance in your account, but do you have enough to pay the rent because it's the end of the month now and ready for the next month's rent? And they kind of realize that, you know, it really is an uphill battle. So I do encourage you to do that activity on your own, playspent.org. In our area, causes of homelessness are just very, very different from one family to the next. And a lot of times, I think the stereotype is that, you know, they did it to themselves. But most of the times, the family did not see it coming, nor could they have done much to prevent it. The one biggest thing is how our wages match up to our the rent that is charged in this area. We see an average place, an average 3-bedroom will be about $800 a month. That's an average cost. That is a large cost to a family who is where maybe it's one parent and they're working maybe up to $14 an hour. That even if they're working full time, $800 a month on top of all the other expenses that go along with that, utilities, a vehicle or some kind of transportation, groceries, your kids need stuff, is just not what we would consider affordable housing. The loss of a job or reduced hours, definitely we've seen some of this with COVID, and we're seeing people try to survive and not have the income or the resources to do so because of the reduced hours I would say the reduced hours is probably the biggest culprit here. Layoffs have made it easier for people to collect that unemployment or get some kind of income that helps with that, but it's when they're reducing the hours because the business is not seeing as many people. That's what's made it really difficult. The loss of a partner is definitely a common and very devastating thing for a family to go through, especially financially. It can be separation from that of the two people. It could be a divorce or death. And partner actually can take on a number of different meanings. It can be your romantic partner, but it also could be a partner as in a friend that you were just living with and sharing expenses with, or it can be another family member that say a mom and son were living together with the grandkids and that person, those people no longer live together for one reason or another. It's just probably one of our most common and most difficult because really nobody plans for that. You know, they plan to be with that person, and when it comes, it just is very hard to get things figured out quickly. We are seeing non-renewal of lease. We're finding that landlords are definitely not wanting tenants there, but allowing them to finish out that lease. And it's that can be detrimental because, I mean, it's kind that they are not evicting them, and that can be a process for the landlord, so that may be part of why they're not evicting them. But then it puts the tenant under a false hope that they're going to continue to, and they're going to be able to renew the lease and continue to live there. And so it kind of comes out of nowhere, especially if the landlord, later the landlord takes to tell them, where I'm not going to be renewing your lease. I think they have to give them 30 days or 28 days, but really it's just, that's not enough time. In our area, we have, I think the last number I heard was a 2% vacancy rate in our area. And of course, not all of that is affordable housing. So very difficult for a family to find a place in 1 month and have the money to do so. We do also count substandard housing conditions as homeless. That's not a HUD definition, that is a McKinney-Vento. So if you're working in the world of housing and housing programs, this wouldn't necessarily be something that they would look at as homeless, but thankfully we are looking at education, not housing. Housing is what is the qualifier, but we're worried about their education, and therefore we throw a wider net to make sure we're covering as many situations as possible that can disrupt homelessness or disrupt education. And substandard housing conditions like mold that is gotten to the point of being unhealthy for the family to be in there, not having hot water, not having heat or electricity. Those things are almost, they can be in some situations where you just can't dwell in that property, and definitely disruptive for whoever's living there, and can be very unhealthy. So that would cause them, of course, to have to leave that property and be displaced and be homeless. Violation of tenant agreement. I wouldn't say this is something that happens often, but it does happen. We have families that are not welcome to stay anymore because of a violation, and that usually is looks like they give a 5-day notice and they say, look, I'm not going to evict you if you get out in the next 5 days, but if you can't, or if you don't, then I am going to move through with the formal eviction process. And many families, they don't want the eviction on them because it goes on their record, and it's a black mark that if landlords have the cream of the crop, or pick of the crop, they don't need to give a chance to somebody who has an eviction on their record, and they're probably not going to. So families will try to avoid having an eviction, which means that they are having to leave very quickly, much like the scenario that I started out with at this presentation, the beginning of this presentation. We do have families and individuals who are struggling with mental health issues, and they don't have the adequate services to work with those issues, and so of course that does lead to it can lead to homelessness because they now are struggling to manage their life, and one piece of that may be their housing, and also substance abuse. Again, very, very rare do I see families with substance abuse, that being the cause of homelessness, but it does happen in our area, and definitely something to count as being a cause of homelessness in our area. So what does homelessness look like in the Chippewa Valley? If you think about, we're a colder climate most of the year. You are not going to see the same typical situations as you do in Florida or New Mexico, where it is warm most of the year. So here we have largest part of our population is doubled up. which means they're staying with somebody else for economic reasons. And it's a temporary situation. It's not something permanent. It isn't like one partner moved in with another. They decided they wanted to live together, and they have kids. They really are there unplanned, and because they have no other options. So that is our biggest population, our biggest category of homelessness. A lot of times because we lack funding in our area to provide something else, to provide housing, programming, or to provide emergency shelter. And the family either does not want to spend their money at the motels, which is a good plan if they can avoid it, or they do not have the money to stay at a hotel or motel. Cars, campers, and tents are avoided, of course, because there's not adequate facilities in there to for somebody to take care of themselves to a healthy status. And also, you will have to have a car in the first place, or know somebody that has a camper, or have a place that you can even park that camper or stay in a tent. And of course, our climate plays a big role in that. We do see families from April to October. We do see them staying in tents and campers. It is a small percentage, as you can see, but it happens. And we do see families in cars all year round. Still a small percentage, but even in the dead of winter, in very cold temperatures, we have still had families in their car.
All righty. So, hi, I'm Reverend Julie, and we're welcoming our new members. And do you guys want to introduce yourselves and just say a little bit about yourselves and kind of what brought you to UUC at this time?
I'm Dawn Pierce. I am a special education aide in the school district of Black River Falls. And what brought me to the Eau Claire UU congregation was my daughter started asking questions about what is God, why she doesn't go to church, things like that. We live like a block away from 3 different churches. Catholic, what is it? Methodist and Lutheran. Mm-hmm. And so she'd always ask questions, about God and Jesus, and because she'd hear her friends talking about it. And so Josh and I actually had the honor of getting married at the UU Church in Madison, the Frank Lloyd Wright building. And so we thought, well, let's go ahead and let her ask questions where she'll be able to find out all sorts of different viewpoints.
Yeah, that's basically what she said. I was very, very impressed with the church when we got married there. I knew if I were to ever join a church, it would have to have certain values. And, when you're my age, you are pretty secure with your own values. Yeah. So for me, just social justice and kindness and tolerance, I knew that that's what the UU Church represented. Also, during COVID, I think I've been able to get in a little more touch with nature. I bought a state park pass, and I've been going out to state parks more. Certainly doing a lot of practice with music. I've been taking guitar lessons, playing drums more, which I've been playing drums for a long time, but just kind of finding more time to really work on that, and just kind of finding more creative outlets. And I think that's been something that I would call a positive during this time, if we could find any. And just spending more time with family. All that has been very important to me.
Yeah. How about you, Dawn?
Definitely spending time with family. going on the hikes, has been a lot of fun. Josh has gone on more than me, but taking Callie out there, showing her what nature has to offer definitely is pretty awesome. Awe-inspiring. Definitely having Callie,
Have my kitty cat?
Have your kitty cat, that's right.
So what does that mean? Why did you draw that, Callista?
Cause I feel like people should be equal, and be best friends.
Yeah, and so when you see all this stuff on the news, did it make you want to write that sign, or?
I actually, the reason why I want to write that sign is because I saw people outside the car. So one day we were driving our car. That's silly. And then we saw people protest, and I think, what? Yeah, that's how you say it.
Yeah,
So then when I got home, I made this.
That's amazing.
And we put it on the window.
Yes, that's awesome. And it's great to say what you believe, right? Yeah.
Now is the time in our service where we celebrate our joys and concerns. If you have a joy or concern that you would like to share, you may post it in the chat or share it with one of our lay ministers or with myself via phone or a distance chat. We are here to support you during these times. I would like to light a candle for Alta Bragg, longtime member of this community. We lost her this past week to a battle with lung cancer and other health problems. But her light will shine for a very long time in our hearts, and her words and activism, her witness of love will move us and help us to continue to shine her light into the world. I also wanted to light a candle for Callista Pierce, who you heard from earlier in our new member spotlight. It is her 9th birthday today. I hope that you are getting a chance to get out and enjoy the sunshine. I wanted to light a candle for all of those gardeners and those people that are making the Chippewa Valley beautiful with their art. There's a new Black Lives Matter mural downtown, if you see it. There's a mural that says vote, and so many beautiful things in the Chippewa Valley and western Wisconsin to keep our hearts going even in these times. Going to have a moment of silence for you to post your joys and concerns. Light this final candle for all the joys and concerns too tender to escape the folds of our hearts. If you'll please join me in the words for closing joys and concerns. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We are here that we might have life and have it more abundantly, so that we might share it with others. Each Sunday, we give half of all non-pledged donations to nonprofit organizations that work to help others. Our summer Share the Plate program is benefiting the Chippewa Valley LGBTQ Center. We thank you for all your donations. You can drop off a check at the congregation. You can mail it and make the check out to UUC. It's also possible to give online at uueauclair.com. as well as texting to give at 84321. With gratitude for the abundance in our lives, we give to help people in need and to support the work of this congregation. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you.
One, two, three. Waking alone again, wondering how much longer can we hold on? Can we hold on? The space between us and them fills with a cold, cold fire. Can we hold on? Can we hold on to the dream of all the people who came to mend, who came to see, who keep one another moving forward until we are free. We are free. And when we get through this, what stories will we tell? Will we hold on? Will we hold on to what was best in us, or to how short we fell? Will we hold on? Hold on to the dream of all the people who came to mend, came to see, keep one another moving forward until we are free. We are free. We'll be that bridge too strong into a new beyond. If we hold on, if we hold on, and if you can't find your home, you can just take my hand. If we hold on, if we hold on, we will 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 hold on.
We spend a bulk of our budget on transportation, keeping our kids at their same schools. And that is even after they are in their own place during the school year. So we celebrate, and we are so happy to see them get into their own place, and we support them staying at that same school through the end of the school year so that they can get into the summer and kind of decide, you know, do we go to the area school now that we live by, or can I afford to get them to school the next year, and just give them that time to make that choice and gather what resources or do any planning they need to be able to transport if they want to keep them at the school. We do find community partners that will help with some transportation. A lot of times we'll get city bus passes for our older students, our middle and high school students that are comfortable using them. And then we offer those even into the next school year. School supplies is another big one that we make sure we have available for families or for students, and those families know how to access them. We work with the community on that too, and I know that Unitarian Universalist has donated lots of supplies in the past, which we are so thankful for. We also have, and I'll talk about this more, the Adopt a Backpack program, which was started a couple of years ago, and that generates donations for school supplies. And that is stored, or those backpacks are stored in our ECASD closet. And I'll talk about those a couple things a little later in the presentation. But that is a closet in our main office. It can't be accessed by the public. It's only for staff to access. So personal supplies are in that closet, and that includes clothing, hygiene products. We even have some blankets that are donated by a blanket event that happens in November. And it really is all about making sure that the student is prepared for school. So they can walk out of the door with deodorant on and their hairbrush because they needed those items and they got them quickly. They can walk to school or walk to the bus stop with boots and snow pants and jacket in the wintertime because we have those available and they got them quickly. You know, we didn't have them, you know, running around the community trying to figure out where they could get that, or the parents spending money that they really could not afford to spend to get those items. We make sure that school fees are covered, and that includes extracurricular opportunities. We think those are just as important as being in school. One example is we had a kiddo that went on a choir trip and to New York, and so we were able to cover that cost for him to be able to be a part of that. And that's just, those are such enriching activities that make such a difference in a student's life. And so we make sure we find a way, one way or another, we find funding for that, and make sure that they get to participate in everything that any other student would get to participate in without worrying about if they can afford it. Mentorship for at-risk students is another thing we offer. This just started a couple years ago. We work with, in the high schools, we work with students that are at a point that they are looking like they need some extra special support to continue being successful at school, or to get back to being successful at school. And that is a one-to-one relationship. They meet with that mentor who we have through grant funding. They meet with them once a week to start out with. They kind of look at what's going on in that student's academic life, look at what's going on in their personal life, and create kind of a plan with that student of, you know, where they're going to move to next, or where they're going to move towards next. You know, what if they're behind in classes, what classes they should focus on first, not biting off too much, you know, and what are needs. Community assistance referrals is a piece that we find very important, because we don't want families and students to be homeless for any longer than they are. So the quicker that we not only tell them about the resource, but help them feel comfortable with accessing it, that's going to get them out of homelessness that much quicker. We take school supplies, office supplies, and kind of put it all together, and then we pack backpacks up that are set for the grade, the correct grade. So as you see in the lower picture, those are bins full of packed backpacks. And I think the bin that is kind of closest down to the bottom is a 5th grade bin. And so everything that's in each of those backpacks in that blue bin are the exact supplies that a 5th grader is required to have for ECASD across the district. Because it is important that those kids get to walk into the classroom and unpack their backpack and take out the same things and all the stuff that every other kid is. It is just such a wonderful way to bring people together in donation and also volunteerism. The volunteerism piece is when you go and get the supplies and you pack them into the backpack, because that means that we don't need somebody volunteering in the ECASD closet packing backpacks. That's one less backpack, or how many here? I think they have maybe 20, maybe 30 that we didn't have to figure out how to find volunteers to pack. So it's just such a fun way, especially this year. We are just asking that people purchase the supplies and then bring them to our district office and drop them off, and it's a great way to fill a need. So how can you help? I think the biggest piece is not a donation or a volunteerism, although those are very important. We love them and we want them. But the biggest thing, the best thing you can do is to bring awareness to others. Talking about programs in our area that help individuals and families, talking about how breaking those stereotypes about how a family becomes homeless and what life can look like for them. They're not living the life in a hotel like they're on vacation. That's a very uncomfortable situation, being stuck in one room for who knows how long while you're burning through money that you really need. And if you do the placement.org, some of the situations that come up in there, just bringing that awareness to others and reminding them of that. Sometimes we kind of get in our own heads and our own bubbles, even though we are aware, and kind of forget the big things because we're focused on our little things. But just bringing them back to that reminder of and that awareness of what our community members are going through and why. We love having volunteers. We found a big thing that comes from when people volunteer in the ECASD closet is really seeing a piece that they've never seen before. The staff members that come in and access the closet and talk about how the things that they do to help their families, and there's a possibility that you will come across a family that is in the office and just kind of something you may be exposed to that it may be the first time. And then advocating for change. So important for you to advocate for change at the local level, at the county level, at the state level, at the federal level, and even again in your just areas that you are in. If you work at a hospital and you see policy there that really isn't quite fitting and working for families or individuals who are experiencing homelessness or close to experiencing homelessness, or maybe just experiencing poverty, that being a person who can speak up and advocate for that change and point out that that's not the best way for us to operate for other people, it is huge. You're the voice for them when they either can't or are not sure if it's okay to voice, that this doesn't feel okay, that they want something different. I have so many families year after year, and none of them take the assistance for granted. None of them expect, that we're going to give them this, and this. And I want to thank everyone for listening, and I'm excited to hear if there's anything that you guys get from this presentation that can come back to the homeless program and help, or other community agencies.
I have one brief announcement that I would like to share. On Monday at 5 p.m., there will be a rally held at Phoenix Park, and it is the Building Unity tour that promotes voting. I will be speaking as well as other members of our community, and this tour actually comes out of the Unitarian Society of Madison, and it's going to be a chance for people to really get excited about voting and getting out knowledge about how to get people registered and why it's important that we have as many people involved in this process as possible. For more information, you can look at the UU Connections that will come out on Monday. You can message myself or the UUC Facebook page if you'd like more information on that rally. Hope to see you there. There will be masks and distancing and a great spirit of celebrating our rights for democracy and participation. Thank you. Now is the time that we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go your ways, knowing not the answers to all things, yet seeking answers to one more thing than you know. These are the words of John W. Brigham. I hope you will join us for coffee hour on Zoom. We'll be having Dani Claesges with us to talk more about the Eau Claire Homeless Program. You can ask questions and also participate. Please watch in your UU Connections for information about how we'll be participating in the Eau Claire Homeless Program. We'll be inviting folks to donate supplies, some of which can be gently used or those that haven't been opened from previous years. And you can buy new when you're also buying your children or grandchildren school supplies. Thank you so much for everything this congregation does to support those in need and to give love to the world. Go in peace and go in love.